Dear students, today we'll discuss another poem which is prescribed for you in the paper Narratives of Resistance. And today we'll be discussing a poem by Adrienne Rich. What kind of times are these? I'm talking about the poet Adrienne Rich. She is an American poet, essayist, and feminist, credited with bringing the oppression of women and lesbians to the forefront of poetic discourse. She was born in 1929 in a place called Baltimore in Maryland in United States, and she died in 2012 in Santa Cruz, California. Her earliest work is a collection of poetry called A Change of World, and it was published in 1951. This book was selected by W.H. Auden for the Yale Younger Poets Award. Her works explore issues of identity, sexuality, and politics. And in her poetry, we can see the continuous search for social justice. And she has participated in many anti-war movements, and also her radical feminism is visible in her poetry. And another important work which brought her to limelight was her controversial and influential collection of essays called Of Woman Born: Motherhood as Institution and Experience. Now, this essay collection was published in 1976, and this work ensured Adrienne Rich's place in the feminist pantheon. Even though she was criticized by some for her harsh depictions of men, however, the work is often seen as her finest. She has also received many awards and honors, like the National Book Award in 1974, the Bollingen Prize in 2003, Bollingen, Bollingen, Bollingen Prize in 2003, Griffin Poetry Prize in 2010, Griffin, Griffin, Griffin. So she was honored with all these awards and honors. Now, the poem prescribed for your study, What Kind of Times Are These? It is taken from the collected poems 1950 to 2012. That's the title of that collection, Collected Poems 1950 to 2012. So it is from this collection that the poem What Kind of Times Are These is taken. Okay, now we'll move on to the poem. The poem What Kind of Times Are These by Adrienne Rich. There's a place between two stands of trees where the grass grows uphill, and the old revolutionary road breaks off into shadows, near a meeting house abandoned by the persecuted who disappeared into those shadows. I have walked there picking mushrooms at the edge of dread, but don't be fooled, this isn't a Russian poem. This is not somewhere else, but here. Our country moving closer to its own truth and dread, its own ways of making people disappear. I won't tell you where the place is, the dark mesh of the woods meeting the unmarked strip of light. Ghost-ridden crossroads, leaf-mold paradise. I know already who wants to buy it, sell it, make it disappear. And I won't tell you where it is. So why do I tell you anything? Because you still listen. Because in times like these, to have you listen at all, it's necessary to talk about trees. So this is the poem. Now we'll move on to its analysis, stanza-wise. In this poem, Adrienne Rich refers to an unknown place. Okay? An unknown place that is between two stands of trees. The two stands of trees, I have shown a picture in the background. It means a plant population consisting of a large number of trees, mostly of the one type or one species, mostly belong to one species. So this is how the two stands of trees look like. And so she says, she refers to an unknown place that is between two stands of trees. And there, the grass grows uphill and the old road breaks off into shadows. And then the speaker of the poem talks about an abandoned meeting house. So this is what she tells in stanza 1. So let's look at it closely. Now this poem begins with a mysterious reference to a place. And this place is somewhere between two stands of trees where the grass grows uphill and the road breaks off into shadows. We cannot see the end of that road. Okay, that is moving on or leading to some dark place. Maybe it leads to the forest or something. So where is that road leading to? That we don't know. Fine. And here she uses a metaphor called the old revolutionary road. And this metaphor is a reference to the road where once the revolutionaries, the people who had revolutionary ideologies, the people who were eager to change the world. So this revolutionary road refers to the revolutionaries who wished to change the world. So once upon a time, they used to tread through this road or walk through this road, or they passed through this road. And thereafter, the shadows at the end of that road is an implicit reference to, it can have two suggestions, two meanings. One is that it is a mystery that all those revolutionaries who treaded through this path, what happened to them? It is a mystery. They moved on to that, they chose that path and they moved forward and they reached somewhere. The second reference is that it can also refer to the future of those people who tried to bring change. Fine, the future of those people who tried to bring change. Anyway, there is a tone of mystery. We don't know what happened to them or what sort of future awaited them. Everything is a mystery. Only that through this place, between these two stands of trees, Many revolutionary people had once upon a time treaded through this path. Okay. And then she talks about a meeting house. She says there is a meeting house at that place. Those who nurtured revolutionary thoughts once met there. Fine. The people who harbored revolutionary thoughts in their minds, they met there once upon a time in that meeting house. But what happened to them? The authority or the men in power persecuted them for spreading such revolutionary ideas. For spreading their revolutionary thoughts, they were persecuted. Henceforth, the house is now abandoned. Those people have disappeared into the shadows that break off at the end of the road. So now the picture is complete. Fine. So she begins by referring to a mysterious place, and this place is somewhere between two stands of trees where the grass grows uphill and the road breaks off into shadows. And then the poet talks about an old revolutionary road, and through this road, once upon a time, the revolutionaries who were eager to change the world, they walked through this path. But what happened to them? What happened to their future? We don't know anything, because she says there was a meeting place where these revolutionaries met and discussed their ideas, but then the authority stopped them. The authorities persecuted them, and now that house is abandoned, and at the same time those people, nobody knows about them. What happened to them? They also have disappeared into the shadows. Okay, so this is stanza 1 of the poem. The second stanza: I have walked there picking mushrooms at the edge of dread, but don't be fooled, this isn't a Russian poem. This is not somewhere else but here, our country moving closer to its own truth and dread, its own ways of making people disappear. So here she says she has walked through this place picking mushrooms at the edge of the road. And then she is assuring the readers that this is not like any Russian poem which is so melancholic and emotional, and that the place mentioned in the poem is not somewhere else. It is there in her own country. And thereafter, the speaker says, the country is moving closer to its truth and dread. Here, the poet refers to those men who are in power, those who speak up against the revolutionaries, and whoever who questions them, whoever who questions the people in authority, they will be persecuted. And they have their ways of making those people disappear. So she's saying this is not a Russian poem. I'm not talking about a Russian poem where you have so many wars and so many domination and oppression happening in Russian history. So this is not about something which captures all those horrors. But I am talking about my country. This is not about any other place, but I am talking about my country. She's a citizen of America. So she is saying, I am talking about a country, my country. So my country means whoever reads that poem, if you read it, it is your country. The reference is to your country. If I read it, the reference is to my country. Likewise. So this is something that happens everywhere. That is what she conveys. Okay, and everywhere we can see this domination of power. Behind every sort of injustice, you have the people in power at play. So here also that is happening. the powerful, whoever questions them, they will be persecuted by the powerful, and they have their own ways of making those people disappear. That means whoever questions them, they will move to the shadows. They won't be nothing will be known about such people who question the authority. So this is something that we are facing everywhere. Fine. And she's saying, so that is the again a reference to the title. What kind of times are these? Where are we treading? Where are we heading to? What is this? What sort of a society are we living? What sort of a culture are we moving on to? What is the future going to be like? So many questions are popping up through these lines. In stanza 3, I won't tell you where the place is. The dark mesh of the woods meeting the unmarked strip of light. Ghost-ridden crossroads, leaf-mold paradise. I know already who wants to buy it, sell it, make it disappear. So in the third stanza also, the speaker or the poet is unwilling to tell others specifically which that place is, or she's not telling us about that place. However, she gives a hint of where the place might be. So she says, it is in the dark mesh of the woods, meeting the unmarked strip of light. And it is at a crossroads. And at that place, it is like a ghost-ridden place, a strange place. But it is a leaf mold paradise. It is full of nature, it is abundant in nature, and people who love nature will find it a paradise. And the speaker already knows who wants to acquire that place and make this place disappear too. So again, so here you find a description of a very exotic place, the dark mesh of the woods. It is somewhere at the boundaries of the forest. And there you find the mesh of woods, the meeting of unmarked strip of light. You can see the light falling through the leaves, and it is at a crossroads. It is like a junction, but that place is very strange. Ghost-ridden means it is very strange. But at the same time, even though it is strange, it also has its own beauty. That is why it's called a leaf mold paradise. So it is natural, it is abundant in nature. This place is abundant in nature. At the same time, it has some sort of mystery surrounding it as well. And such strange and beautiful places exist everywhere in many countries. But after some time, just like the people have disappeared, we can also see that the place get completely transformed. And here it is also a reference to industrialization, the deforestation that is happening. Fine, everything is disappearing. People with good values, people who talk about truth, people who want justice, they are disappearing. The natural resources are disappearing. So, physically, emotionally, psychologically, all values, all resources are disappearing. So, again, the question of the title pops up. What kind of times are these? So, all the valuable things are disappearing from the face of this earth. The people who question, the people who stand for justice, you cannot find such good people around you now. Now everybody is after corruption. The whole system is corrupted. Even our land is being occupied by the people in power. Okay, so these are the second and third stanzas. Moving on to the last and fourth stanza. And I won't tell you where it is. So why do I tell you anything? Because you still listen. Because in times like these, to have you listen at all, it's necessary to talk about trees. So in this stanza also, she stresses, I won't tell you where this place is. So here also she says, I'm not ready to tell you where is this place. Why should I tell you anything? She's asking, because nowadays people don't just care about anything, about whatever is happening, for all the problems that happen around us, all the threats that humanity is facing at present. The reason behind all this is basically human. Man's actions have led to so many disasters, destruction around the world, all this pollution, everything. So, even if our planet is on the verge of destruction, even if man's actions are causing human life to suffer or the environment to suffer, nobody just cares. People are after money. They are selfishly running after money and riches. Nothing else matters. So that's why she's asking, why should I tell you anything? You won't listen. Because, and then she says, because you still listen, because in times like these, to have you listen at all, it's necessary to talk about trees. Then she's saying, but if you listen, then in times like these, we have to talk about trees. We have to talk about our environment. We have to talk about our planet. Okay, similar, many pressing issues are around us. We need to talk about all that. So she ends on a note of positivism, because she says, because you still listen. So even though in the previous line she's saying, there's no need for me to disclose the place, why should I tell you? She's asking that, but at the same time in the last line she's saying, but you still listen. I know there are a few people. Maybe she is referring to the readers of her poetry. So she's saying, because you still listen, there are people who listen. And at times like this, if you listen, I think we should talk about trees. And trees refers to our environment, and everything comes in that. Animals, plants, human beings, all the problems surrounding all these species. That is very important. So that is the poem. What kind of times are these? So in this poem, Adrienne Rich is trying to communicate to her readers about the need of the hour. We have to be cautious. We have to take wise decisions. We have to protect our land. We have to take care of each other. We have to cultivate good values, because our culture, our society, our political powers, everything is on the verge of dismantling or ruination. So we have to stand together and listen to our hearts, listen to people who cry out for help, listen to people who again advise us about what we should do for a better future. So all this is the need of the hour. Okay, so even though the poem begins on a very sad, melancholic or a hopeless tone, towards the end she is trying to tell her audience about all the pressing issues that are surrounding us, and we have to act and react as responsible citizens. So the place, she's not mentioning it deliberately, because this poem is not about any one particular place. Whoever reads this poem, to whichever nationality he belongs, he can equate the place in the poem with his own. So, this is the condition throughout the world. Anybody who reads this can identify it with his own place. So, it is the responsibility of the citizens of the world to stand together and to react wisely as per the need of the situation. So, this is the poem. Now, Adrienne Rich was inspired by the German poet Bertolt Brecht, Bertolt Brecht, Brecht, Bertolt Brecht, who is a German poet. In his poem, "To Those Who Follow in Our Wake," that's a poem written by Brecht, to those who follow in our wake, he had said, quote, "What times are these in which a conversation about trees is almost a crime? For in doing so, we maintain our silence about so much wrongdoing." Unquote. So this is a quotation from his poem, and Adrienne Rich was inspired by this, and that is why she titled her poem as "What Kind of Times Are These?" And about the structure of the poem is a lyrical poem that consists of 4 stanzas, and each stanza contains 4 lines. And in the first 2 stanzas, we see that the second and the fourth lines rhyme, and the poem is composed in iambic pentameter. So that's it. Thank you.